Turnkey manufacturing. Sounds like a dream. Bigger margins, more control, more revenue. But what if I told you if you don't plan for the hidden costs, it could actually wreck your business? I've seen it happen firsthand. So, there's two types of manufacturing that we generally go with. It's toll, where the customer owns the material and you process it and ship them the finished good, or turnkey, where you, the manufacturer, are buying all the materials. You make the product, ship it, and invoice it. And I'm only handling the finished good. So, in theory, turnkey sounds like a better deal, right? More control, more money. But here's what happens when you don't understand the real cost of that decision. So, hi, I'm Tisa. I've been in corporate procurement for about 20 years now, working directly with small to medium sized manufacturers to make product on our behalf. So, one of the things that I push for is turnkey manufacturing. That's what we prefer. So, I want to have a partner that's going to do everything for me. You're going to just take my bill of materials, you're going to go out, you're going to manage it. I'm just going to get a finished good when I want it on my schedule. You're going to handle everything on the back end. That's what I would prefer to deal with. So, most of my suppliers are set up that way, and they know that going into it. So, had a supplier that we onboarded, and they knew it was going to be turnkey. So the relationship started off great. Everything was going good. Our first orders were slightly delayed, but not from anything on their part. It really was on our part of us getting them set up, getting them fully onboarded, being able to get down and do a quality audit, all of those things. So they were not the delay. So they onboarded, things are going good. When we started the business with them, this is caveat, we started at 45 days for payment terms with the expectation that we would be moving to 60 and eventually 90 days. So this was all built in. So they understood what those payment terms were going to look like. So things were going pretty good. They were delivering, we got them onboarded. Like I said, that started a little bit behind, but again, that was on us. So first deliveries come, good product, meet all of our expectations. Things are going great. So, hey, you're doing really good with this one product. Let me have you look at a couple of others for us, right? Why not? So again, start doing some sourcing with them, have them look at a couple of other items for us with the understanding that these other items are also going to be turnkey. At this point, with getting some additional business, we've been doing business a little bit longer. We've now moved into that 60-day payment terms. So they did some sourcing events on these and they were good. They were favorable. So I identified a couple new items I was going to move in with them. So we moved in these new items and started getting them onboarded. And onboarding had some hiccups, but let's be honest, when has an onboarding ever not had hiccups, right? There's always some kind of delay somewhere. So it doesn't raise any red flags to me at all because these are startups suck. Okay, let's just say it, right? So no red flags there. So then we start getting into production and we're about 18 months into the relationship. And this is where I'm starting to see little cracks pop up. So now we are starting to see material delays on reorders. So startup is one thing, but once it's a reorder, I'm not expecting there to be a material delay unless there's something that happened in the market. And I'm generally going to know that something happened. So especially if it's on something that had a large MOQ up front. So this is where I'm starting to now start seeing some cracks. They're starting to have small little material shortages that are starting to cause little delays. So what's going on? Well, everything's okay. We're good. We we had this one customer, we lost them, so we're getting caught up on some things, but we're all good. Okay. But you're still starting to be delayed. So now your reputation internally is starting to take a hit. So let's look at this and let's rewind. So they originally set up and knew the piece of business that they were getting into at 45 days. Did they take into account when we moved to 60 days when they did that new cost structure for that new material they brought in? I don't know. But it meant that they had new raw materials that they were outlaying. They were now extending another 15 days on carrying payroll. They were now extending another 15 days to get money for anything. So I have to say, did they really calculate that in? I don't know. I know what has transpired since then. So you're about to find out. So I start getting the phone calls from the tier 2 suppliers, their suppliers, saying, hey, we know they're making the product for you. They're not paying their bills and we're going to turn them off and not ship stuff to them anymore. At that point in time, I now have no choice. My stuff's at risk. You can't support my stuff any longer. If your suppliers are going to cut you off for non-payment, you can't deliver my product. How do I keep you onboarded? So that's very real. That is what happens. So where did that go wrong along the way? I don't know. I'm not in their books. I can't speak on that, right? I can make assumptions. I can look outside looking in. So here's the thing. There were a couple of projects that they did for us where, due to timing, due to just expedited needs, we actually set those specific projects up as toll. I sent them everything. Do you want to know what happened on those orders? They got them done faster. They delivered ahead of time. They were beautiful. So looking back on it, outsider, I can look in and go, okay, here's where you did great work and were able to do everything under a toll scenario. Here's where, unfortunately, I might have to look at moving things because your cash flow is not supporting a turnkey model. So then what's that conversation? Is the conversation, hey, let's move you to a toll model? Well, that means I've got to do some work internally to repair the reputation and explain to everybody internally why we should continue with this supplier and change the entire business structure, and why we should take on the additional burden of supporting that supply chain, right? There's a reason we go with that turnkey. So that's real life. So if you're looking at toll versus turnkey, make sure you actually look at the total cost of what that turnkey option looks like. Not to say it's a bad option. I love my turnkey suppliers. I love it. They make my life easier, right? We have great partnerships, but at the same time, I fully recognize the burden that they're under. I fully recognize the conversations I have with them on, I need you to go find an alternate supplier and there you go, do that work for me. That's the value and I pay for that value, but I understand it's a burden and not everybody wants to offer that service, and that's okay too. There's a lot of great toll manufacturers out there. I have some really great relationships with them and I would love to do more work with them. Unfortunately, my company doesn't necessarily work in that structure, and that's just the way that is, right? But make sure as you're setting up your business structure, you understand what's right for you. So price it correctly. Look at the whole cost of carrying that inventory, carrying that money. How much is that money going to cost you, right? What are those interest rates? If you use supplier financing, what does that look like? So protect your cash flow. That at the end of the day, that is your business, right? You know your cash flow better than I do. And if I'm seeing cracks in your cash flow, you have to be feeling them inside. So before you get into any long-term turnkey deal, make sure you're asking yourself, does this actually make us money? When are we actually going to turn a profit? And are we really ready to support this? So if you're dealing with any of this right now, drop a comment. Are you struggling with cash flow? Have you had to rethink your pricing strategy? Let me know. Until next time, thank you for staying with me this long, and let me know what else you want to talk about. Thanks, guys. Bye.